The system's starting to fail on me there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the blog, but there is a catch. Yes, it's SnowTALK, but I am going to do a blend here of also Storm Talk. I think it's both topics, which I've got a feeling I'm going to run into a lot here over the next few weeks. But certainly today, it will be a mix of the two ideas because we are going to get into a much more active pattern that's got a lot of challenges that we've been talking about this for days. But we'll get a little more detail on it today, and I'll hopefully have a little more tomorrow as well. Hope you guys are doing well on this Thursday. Obviously, before we get into the weather, I think it's one of those things everyone's talking about. It's on everyone's mind today is what happened in D.C. last night with the crash with American Airlines and the military chopper there in D.C. I tell you what, they've done a great job. Tom Costello on the Today Show, by the way, if you haven't watched his reports, he is just phenomenal with his analysis. So I really encourage you to watch his reports that he does. But it's one of those things that there's a lot of speculation right now, and I know that in aviation like this, as we always say, the most dangerous part of a flight is not when you're in the air and your core of the flight, it's the landing and the takeoffs. That's where things get a little hairy sometimes. And that's just because that's where human control gets a little more involved than the automated control once you get into the sky. So this was a good example of that it came down to human reaction and human decisions at a very fast rate. I love aviation, but I also fear flying. And I think that is something that maybe a lot of you can relate to that. I study a lot of it. Twan is the same way. So is Ryan Hoke. His father is a pilot. So we get into aviation a lot, not just because of the meteorology, but because I think in some sense, I do fear it. So I want to know. I want to know how everything works and how things evolve, just so that I know when I'm there and on a flight. But I don't think I could ever be a pilot because the pressure in the cockpit is very, very intense. And while we deal with a lot of pressure here in severe weather and quick decision making, that is you're responsible too for a lot of people sitting behind you. So that's anyway. That I don't want to get too into the weeds on it, but I know that I think it's something that I need to mention because I think it's something we can't ignore. We need to think of those families today and hope that we get the answers that they need for some resolution on that. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. Yeah, you guys are talking about the beard. Yes, the beard is gone. All right. It's warming up now. And it may come back if we get snow again. And I do think we're going to get snow again. And I'll explain when. Actually, let's do that now. Let's go ahead and get to the snowboard. All right. Let's get to that. Everyone likes to hear about the snowboard. I'll tell you what. The potential for the 7th through the 9th, which will be about the mid to later portion of next week, it's a low risk. And I think really it may be the flip on this one, and it could end up being severe thunderstorms. Adam, where are you at? I know you're in here somewhere. Our severe weather guru. And Cameron, you're big on severe weather as well. But the 12th of February through Valentine's Day, I tell you what, that is a period. It always is. It always is around Valentine's Day around here. But this year will likely match what we always think of with winter weather near the holiday. That is showing up. I'll explain more coming up here in just a second. Right now, though, we have the snow mounds still holding on at Hubert's Orchard and Winery. You know what? I was in Clifton yesterday. I was amazed. First off, I was in one of those alleyways to cut through, and it was nothing but a solid sheet of ice to where, I was sliding around trying to still keep control going down the road. It was just like it was 3 weeks ago. And driving, it all flashed back to me rapidly yesterday. And I was like, this is wow, that we're almost 60 degrees and I'm sliding around on ice. But around that area, around Grinstead, it was, a good 1 to 2 inches everywhere, not just patches of snow like you see here. It was everywhere. It's just amazing to see how this snowpack has been so relentless to give up. And it's because of the ice component that fell, the sleet and the freezing rain, the middle layer. The bottom layer melted, the top layer melted. Now the middle layer is the only thing that's left. In some cases, it's suspended off the ground. You may notice that in your yard, but it's holding on. Rain, warm rain that we have coming our way. Boy, that's going to take care of that. It'll melt away rapidly. The snow mounds will certainly shrink as well. It was a cold morning, right? But it's a good thing the thermometer is going up because rain is moving in. Well, this could have been a whole different storyline, but the warm air is going to be dramatic. So we don't have to worry about this being an ice storm or a snowstorm. The warm air is going to be overwhelming. So thermometer will keep climbing. We'll get into the 50s, in fact, before the first drops begin to fall. Now, once the rain starts, just because the dew point is lower right now, we call this a dew point depression. When there's a gap between the temperature and the dew point, it indicates dry air. So you're going to see the radar light up here in a second. You're going to get a lot of green when you look at the radar on your app, like, oh, okay, well, there's green over me, but it's not raining. Take a look at the clouds up above. If the clouds are lowering, you will get rain soon. But if they're really high up, then you're likely still going to be in the dry pocket for just a bit longer. So it's going to be a bit of a slow process to initially get the rain to fall. But once we saturate and the cloud bases begin to lower, that's when the rain will take over. And then it gets heavy for tonight, okay, as you're about to see here in a second. All right, let's get into the radar view. And this is where the clouds have been increasing. You can see the rain that is breaking out to our south and west. Again, the leading edge of that will likely be Virga for a bit, is what we call that when it evaporates. But eventually the warm or the saturation will take place. And boy, it is, look at this slug. Ooh, boy, absolutely drenched all the way to Dallas. Models are doing very well, by the way, on handling this system. So high confidence in the modeling here. But this is going to be, I mentioned this, I think, a few days ago. I can't remember, but it was the upside down L shape to the systems. And sometimes I mention the American flag box corner sometimes. Anyway, the upside down L shape is moving to the north and east. So The first round of rain will be with the top part of the L. That will move through. That's going to be a good chunk of the rain for the evening. And then overnight tonight will be the other portion of it, which will kind of just quickly move in a band north and south band that will just sweep through, almost like a squall line would. And there could actually be some thunderstorms with that. And as far as southern Kentucky, thunder and lightning may be possible, better potential down toward areas of Tennessee. But that whole slug is moving our way. And right along where that little corner is, the little American flag box, if you will, normally that's a spot we watch for severe weather, right? But we don't have all this set up here. We don't have enough instability to be an overwhelmingly strong signal for severe. But it's right at what we call the triple point. Where that happens, that is where your heaviest of rain is going to fall, and it's going to aim right into central Kentucky. Now, they have flood watches that are out, as you see in the green areas. Now, there's no flood watch out for Kentucky because our threshold right now, as it stands, is roughly about 3 inches in about a 6-hour window. We can handle that if we start to exceed that, and some thunderstorm potential would do that. But that's going to be isolated. You could get, at that point, some flood advisories that could come out. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if we'll get to a flash flood warning scenario. I think that's unlikely, but flood advisories I do think could get issued just because of the rainfall rates in pockets. Please be careful. Hydroplaning. The evening commute will start to have some impact, but right now we're not going with an alert day yet for the evening commute because I think the heaviest of rain will be just after the commute, the really heavy stuff that will cause the bigger issues. But still, even a little bit of rain, we know how it is driving around here. So please just be careful. All right, so let's walk through the rain chances. You can see they do jump up dramatically and max out as we head into tonight at 100%, and then we'll take it back down just in time for the evening commute tomorrow. Here's what it looks like on the map form. Rain showers moving in. Yellow indicating that moderate rain to get to 4 o'clock. It's just now moving into Louisville at that point. The moderate portion of it. Those of you in E-Town will certainly have that already happening. And those of you in Madison, Indiana will still be waiting for it to increase. But look at the difference in temperature because, again, evaporative cooling, once we saturate, takes the thermometer and knocks it down a few degrees. So you see that happening where the heavier rain is, but areas that have not seen that yet, you have a chance to get into the upper 50s in our northeast sections here of wave country today. So temperature's a little bit lopsided, upside down, if you will, as it moves in. But we'll all even out tonight into the 40s, gusty winds at times, heavy rain, 9 o'clock at night. I hope you, I don't know what you got planned tonight. It's none of my business, but I hope that you have plans to be in and stay in because it is going to be a mess. It's just going to be a mess. It's going to be pouring outside. Yeah, you just don't want to be driving in this. So some of you have to work second shift, especially, and third shift heading out to work. Please use caution. Here we go into the overnight. Now, this is where we get into the orientation. It's a little more north-south, and that's where you start to see even more of the reds showing where the rain tries to enhance. Some strong wind gusts will start to ramp up to overnight. If you have wind chimes outside, you should be hearing that. This is where we could get into some thunderstorms that could try to form near E-Town to Columbia about 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't be surprised if you get a middle of the night wake-up call. Now, there is some potential for some of that wind that could make it down to the ground level. Right now, I don't see that getting to severe thresholds, but it may get close as far as over 40 miles per hour in a few cases. So be mindful of that. And that gusty wind will hold all the way through the morning commute. But just be mindful that at least for our southern counties, there could be some thunderstorm action we'll have to watch. But the good news, as I mentioned, once we get into the morning commute, things ease back. It's going to be windy tomorrow morning, especially near this time through about noon tomorrow. Really strong winds up to about 40 miles per hour. Say really strong, but strong compared to what we normally experience. And the thermometer will jump up into the 60s. Models, I think, are too cool here. We're going to be warmer than this. We'll get into the 60s. And here's where things get a little weird. Remember, we have the two lows that I talked about disjointed. Well, that second low starts to move in from the west, and it's got just enough of a wind field, especially in this area of Kentucky, where thunderstorms will try to develop. There is some potential to get a warning or two out of some of these cells. But what will really be really interesting out of this is that because the sky will be mainly clear, when these showers or thunderstorms begin to pop tomorrow afternoon, they're going to be fairly isolated. You'll be able to see them towering up in the distance. So it'll be very visually stunning tomorrow afternoon in some cases, especially in southern Kentucky as these begin to pop, almost reminding you of the summertime season as the cumulonimbus begin to grow there. So there's two different ways you can get thunderstorms or rain in general for Friday afternoon. That would be the thunderstorms that pop Friday afternoon, early evening, very close to sunset. And then there'll be a wave of rain that'll be moving in on the backside of the low. That will sweep through us as well. That will not be a big issue on severe. That will be just general showers. But we will likely see another little batch of rain move on by before we dry out and we get cooler as we head into Saturday. Rainfall amounts. I think this is nearly a lock of about 2 inches in Louisville. In fact, I think we're going to have a lot. I think what the herd is doing is quite spot on. I think we're going to have a lot of 2.09, 2.10, 2.1, those type of rain totals. Some of you will get missed. And you can see the models trying to say Seymour will get the lower end. That's possible because the rain band will not lift continuously up. The NAM was trying to do that earlier this week. It's not doing it anymore. It's finally lined up with the other modeling to indicate this is near the Ohio River and down to about the parkways. But it will be focused right in the core wave country, right across between I-64 and the parkways. That's the zone where we're going to get a solid 2 inches out of this. We can handle this, but thunderstorms could spike some of these numbers. That's what we got to watch out for. All right. Here's what's interesting. If you guys are new to watching the blog, this is the CSU. This is the AI learning module for severe weather. Sorry, it looks a little weird. I'm not really good at putting pictures in here. You guys should know that by now. I'm a boomer, okay? This is the outlook for tonight. This is your tornado potential, which is not here. Your hail potential, not here. But the wind potential does push right there into southern Kentucky. So that's where, again, that our southern counties could get some of those stronger wind gusts. Now, tomorrow, we don't have the tornado potential, no hail, but there is the damaging wind threat. And it's hard to see, but it's right there into eastern Kentucky. It lines up more toward I-75. That's fair, but I do think the potential could be a little further west, I-65. I can't rule that out. But it's interesting to see these outlooks starting to light up again. We haven't seen this in a long time, right? So be mindful of that potential for at least some gustier thunderstorms as we head into the day coming up for Friday there. Any questions on that I can try to answer for you? Hi, Sean. How you doing? Brian, make the storm into snow. We'll cover that in a second. Renee, you look good without the beard. Makes you look younger. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm only 21, so I hope I look my age now. Let's see. Bring on the beard. You guys are funny. I've never had more issues with the beard. You guys are really upset about this. All right. Hey, you know what? It may come back. It may come back one day, but not right now. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Once again, I'm going to discuss some drawings. I've got some new maps rolling in about next week. Next week is complex. It features the potential for thunderstorms, and the snow potential is going up as well on that. I'm going to cover that coming up after a quick little break. Hang tight. I'll be back here in about 30 seconds, guys. Hang tight. Okie dokie. Appreciate y'all being patient. So let's dive into it. We've got an active setup for next week. Some of you have been seeing the models, I know. And once again, I don't think it's going to be easy to show the models the way they stand now. So I think it's easier to just draw how things are going to look on this. And I'm hoping that we can eventually show you models. But right now, they would spin your head so much. It's spinning our heads. So if it's spinning our heads, it'll certainly spin yours. It's the same overall issue that we've got, where we've got just generally the country divided with warm air to the south, cold air to the north, and multiple waves tracking along it like locomotives on the train track, one after another, after another, after another. And I don't see an end to this. And looking even beyond Valentine's Day, it's going and going. It may go all the way through March. So it's going to be a very busy month. February will be. And everything is on the table. Everything is on the table. And I'm talking about snow to severe weather, all of it. But where do we fit into that whole storyline? That's going to be the challenge. as you guys might imagine, that's going to be difficult. Next week still looks like a potential for what we call the overrunning scenario, where the warm air tries to cross over that line. And where that happens, there will be a wintry threat. The trend right now is to keep that more north toward I-70 if there's going to be any type of system to roll along that wave. Some of the modeling, especially the GFS, which tends to suppress cold air more than the Euro does, but in general, with that idea in play, the Euro especially, and as you're about to see other models, really want to try to accelerate some of this warm air, at least for a day or two, really push it all the way over this line to the Great Lakes. And if that were to happen, then we have to discuss the thunderstorm potential as we head into the middle and latter portion of next week. After that wave passes on by, another one moves in, but this one has a better potential to push the line south again. Now we get into a wintry discussion. That's where the item number one on the snowboard comes into play, which would be toward the end of next week and perhaps next weekend. After that happens, yet another one moves in, does the same thing, tries to suppress that line down to the south. That's where we get into where there's so many of them coming in, one after another. They try to keep pushing that line down, and we get into much more of a wintry pattern. So more of a spring setup in the short term, and then going into winter. All right, so that's how things are looking to evolve. The data is starting to roll in on next week, and it's interesting. I just showed you the CSU models for severe weather for today and tomorrow. We'll take a look at what they're already showing for next week, which is interesting because this was not here yesterday. It is already trying to throw a signal out for severe weather on Wednesday and Thursday, but it really likes the Ozarks, and it's questioning us because we would likely be right along the line there, the warm front. That's where it's unsure whether or not we would get severe weather. It's a low end probability. It's not high end here, guys. So make sure I'm stressing that. Certainly Missouri and the Ozarks are standing out more, but it does show the potential that if that line, our boundary, goes north and we get that warmer surge, this is what we're going to face. Interestingly enough, the CFS model, which has a GFS type of component. I'm throwing a lot of acronyms at you guys, sorry. This is a little complex to read, but I love this because this predicts potential for severe weather way down the road. And these are all the previous model runs, and you're looking for anything that lights up in a very light blue or even a yellow. Dark blue, not going to happen. And you notice several model runs looking out into the future, things look quiet, but then suddenly, the past 3 days, the signal is showing a spike. And that spike is right in our area for severe potential. So it's interesting that this model does fairly well, by the way. When it starts to lock in on a signal and it starts to repeat itself, confidence starts to raise that we may run into problems with severe weather. So I think it's something we can't ignore. With CSU, the AI, and then this model doing the same thing, yeah, it's something worth watching. All right, it's not a guarantee, but these are two good signals usually for outlooking on severe potential. So we'll watch that. Now, on the flip side, I told you about the wintry side of this idea down the road. All right, buckle up. Here's the matrix as we head toward the 12th of February and Valentine's Day. Hasn't really locked in on a particular day yet, but boy, it likes this window, doesn't it? And interesting enough, there's not a lot of gray. There's quite a few blues and even some pinks indicating that, yeah, this would be potentially something to watch on snowfall. The Euro keeps trying to aim for Louisville, by the way, on getting some bonus snow out of this system. So we'll see if this can hold and materialize. Right now, it's still very iffy, but we got to wait. We got to wait until we get that push down to that line. That's when we get back into SnowTALK, guys. Until then, low confidence next week. If anything, there is a chance we could get into the 70s. If that line overachieves, we will actually get in the 70s next week, and we will have to deal with thunderstorms. So that's a high probability if that happens. But then you see the flip. So get ready for some whiplash coming our way. Now, we've been going back and forth in the 10-day. I think all of us have been stressing out about what to do with the numbers, right? Because GFS is colder, Euro is way warm. We're trying to split the difference as best we can. And I know it constantly is changing, but for good reason, because the data is changing. We're trying to evolve with it the best we can. But you can see that we've got that 64 tomorrow afternoon. There's the cool day on Saturday, which is not bad. 49, we can handle that. That's still above normal. Windy and warm Groundhog Day. Same for Monday. And then the boundary is, we'll see what happens. Right now, I'm going to place it generally along our area with the potential for rain and thunderstorms at some point there. as that wave moves by, and then we push that wave down, and that's where we get into at least a rain and or snow chance for next weekend. Right now, that signal does not look very impressive compared to the others. All right. The Matrix. Kevin Harden picks on me all the time. Show the Matrix. All right. So you guys good? Adam, what do you say? 60 to 40 to 70 to snow. Welcome to Wave Country. Adam, you summed it up best. That's exactly, if I had to give the 10-day, that's, without showing it, that's how I would describe it. Isn't that fun? Let's see. Hi, Angela. Hope you're doing well. With the wind spots with the 40 miles per hour and the thaw and grouch, should trees be uprooted? A concern. You know, that's a good question. Typically, we don't worry yet as much about that as we would if they had leaves. Once they get the leaves on them, they have that extra weight. It's easier to then push them down. They got a sail on them, basically, right? So in the winter time, it's a little more of a challenge, but you're right. If there are trees that are dying or they've already had a weak root system, if you got one in your yard, it's kind of been leaning a bit. Yeah, you always got to watch a potential. But yeah, it's a good point. The ground will be quite saturated. So sometimes you can get wind damage even without getting severe thunderstorm warnings. If you have weak trees, it's your stronger trees will be fine. But the weak ones, yeah, got to watch those. Hey, Jason, hope you're doing well. Looks like it's a head-on swivel. Kind of, it's going to be fun. And here's the thing, and I hope you guys are not going to get mad at me, but I am out next week. I'll be on vacation. I know, I'll keep leaving you all, but you'll be fine. You'll be fine. The guys got you, and Tawana. Sorry, Tawana. They got you, so they'll take care of you. They'll be on here as well. You guys know they are always on streaming, doing blogs as much as I am. So there you go. But I will miss this. So it's almost a guarantee that we're probably going to get something crazy if I'm going to be out on vacation. But I'll be here tomorrow. So we'll go through all the data then. Okay, I think you guys look good. I don't see any big issue. Amanda, I'll get your question on. Whoops, sorry about that. How much rain? Sorry, I'll get yours too, Elizabeth. How much rain in Salem, Indiana? I think it's going to be a widespread, 2-inch total. You may be a little bit lower in Salem, Elizabeth. You probably be like a 1.7, but close. You'll be close to that level. 1 to 2. I think it'll be fair. All right. And did I get Amanda's question? Tornado potential? It's not with this setup that's coming our way in the short term. Next week, too early to know that. Too early to know. It's probably unlikely because the waves, and not to get overly technical, but they'll be what we call a positive tilt, not a negative tilt. And when you get a positive tilt, they're usually just wind damage makers. When you start to pull the cold front more of a northwest to southeast fashion, it bends backward, then you get into your tornado potential. But if it leans forward, it's more just straight line winds and squall lines. And right now, I'm leaning toward that idea if I had to choose anything, just because the flow is fast. These systems are not going to be overly slow and be able to dig like that. They do have a fast flow working against them. Gary, I like it when you get overly technical. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. I appreciate you all. I got to run. Hang tight and enjoy the rain setup today. Again, I hope you have plans just to stay inside and just stay in on a rainy night. All right. And get ready for a spring-like day for tomorrow. I'll see you guys coming up on midday at 11 a.m.